warm welcome to today's edition of Money Moves. I am Melissa Enoch here at the FMDQ studios in Lagos.
And I am Grace Agbarago. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of March. We thank you for joining us at this time on the show.
All right, let's tee off with your news now. Ghana has lifted restrictions on new domestic bond issuance, ending the pause implemented in 2023 following the country's debt default. The move is designed to reduce reliance on treasury bills for budget financing and promote the issuance of longer-dated domestic bonds. Finance Minister Cassiel Atto-Forsyth announced the policy change on Monday, highlighting its role in strengthening Ghana's domestic debt market and supporting fiscal stability. In earnings news, ShopRite Holdings, South Africa's largest grocer, posts 7.7% rise in first half profit, with headline earnings per share from continuing operations up to 710.5 cents from 659.8 cents a year earlier. EBITDA rose 6.7% to 12.4 billion rand, while group sales increased 7.2% to 136.8 billion rand, supported by a 7.1% gain in South African supermarket sales across all food and non-food chains. Gross margin dipped slightly to 23.8% due to low selling price inflation turning into deflation. Supermarket sales for the first month of the second half of the year rose 7.5%, with internal price inflation of 0.7% versus 3.1% in January of 2025. The group expects low single-digit selling price inflation to continue through 2026 and declared an interim dividend of 307 cents, up 7.7%. In South Africa, a special Think budget session was convened by RMB following South Africa's 2026 national budget speech. The session brought together economists and business leaders to unpack key policy signals, fiscal priorities, and what the budget means for growth, investment, and the operating environment in the year ahead. Let's listen.
You recall that we had announced that if we withdraw VAT, we don't withdraw the expenditure lines that we had inserted in the budget. And we said if we do this, and if SARS does not give us the compliance revenue, debt revenue, because you recall that we allocated them 7.5 billion over the next 3 years to help us with the debt from those ones who owe South Africans, but they are not paying. And we said under those conditions, we're going to increase the tax by 20 billion rands. Well, we're not going to do that. The minister has said it. We're not going to do that. And the reason for that is not because of differences within the GNU. Unlike last year, where the difference are about VAT and all that. It has to do with the fact that I think we have managed our macroeconomic policy very well, because one of the key pillars of our economic growth is a macroeconomic stability, keeping our debt at sustainable level, and making sure that we've got price stability, low inflation, and also a stable exchange rate. So on the debt side, I think our debt is stabilizing very well, and we've seen it also in the rising confidence in our economy. I mean, the yield is one of the indicators of you guys that you are comfortable. The higher the yield, the higher the risk. So if the yield is going down, we get happy that what we're doing is...
In other news, Egypt's Federal Regulatory Authority, FRA, has issued decision number 44 of 2026, establishing a comprehensive framework for the registration, transfer, amendment, and closure of branches of non-banking financial companies. The decision requires firms to obtain prior approval before opening any branch and defines 4 types of branches: financing, marketing, mobile, and seasonal. Companies must adopt approved geographical structures, establish clear credit decision frameworks, and comply with documentation and inspection requirements. Existing firms have 6 months to regularize their branches, with the rules taking effect following publication in Al Wakai, Al Masriya, and on the FRA website. In the meantime, SGTM, Morocco's construction and engineering group, closed 2025 with strong top-line growth, with consolidated revenue jumping 33.6% to 15.2 billion dirhams from 11.1 billion dirhams in 2024, driven by accelerated project execution and new large-scale infrastructure programs. Fourth quarter revenue rose 8.7% year-on-year to 4.9 billion dirhams, while full-year social revenue climbed to 14.6 billion dirhams from 10.4 billion dirhams a year earlier. The period was shaped by progress on major sports infrastructure projects. The group also completed its listing on the Casablanca Stock Exchange during the fourth quarter, with a 4.8 billion dirhams initial public offering, ranking as the second largest in the exchange's history, marking a key milestone in SGTM's corporate development. In Nigeria, Transcorp Hotels shareholders have been reviewing the company's full year 2025 performance as management outlined key financial and operational highlights from the year. Speaking during the presentation of the results, the managing director and CEO Uzo Oshogwe walked shareholders through earnings performance, operational gains, and the company's outlook going forward. Let's listen.
Talked about power, energy, and the cost. I would just want to bring our minds back to who Transcorp is. Just as we invest in hospitality, we also invest heavily in power. So we are working very closely with our sister company, Transcorp Power, to look for other options. When you actually mentioned solar panels. We're looking at that. And then also another sister company, Transcorp Energy. They're actually working with us to look at different options for renewable energy. What we've actually put in place in the hotel is what we call the dual gas solution, where we power our boilers using gas. And gas is actually cheaper and also a lot friendlier to the environment. You've done so well. How are we sure that this revenue that we actually made in 2025 is sustainable? What our team, that's the Transcorp Hotel team, and the Transcorp Hilton Abuja team, the Hilton team, are actually doing is that this year, 2026, is a relentless focus on high return growth. So anywhere we are putting in our money, we are ensuring that we make the money multiple times over. So we are very deliberate in what we're investing our money in. The second is operational excellence, which we talked about and we did quite a lot in 2025. But in 2026, it's going to be powered by our people, who is our greatest asset, and also by technology. And the third, and very important, is brand relevance. We talked about guest experience. This year, we're talking about guest obsession. That means we're going to be obsessed about giving our guests the best service they can ever have in the continent. Talked about power, energy, and the cost.
Finally, on News Now Today, Dangote Cement signs over $1 billion deal with Sinoma to expand and develop plants across Africa. The agreement covers 12 new projects, including integrated plants, brownfield expansions, and modernization initiatives in Nigeria and other African markets. The partnership is part of the Dangote Group's Vision 2030 strategy, targeting an 80 million tons per annum production capacity and $100 billion in revenue by 2030. I am Melissa Enoch, and that's it on News Now for today. The show returns shortly with Grace at the FMDQ ticker tape room, giving us a market update. Stick around.
We are following over 600 technologies, technology by technology. What is the maturity level? How much investment goes? Where are they happening? And what are the policies pushing those technologies? And it is one of the basis of our annual work on energy technology perspectives. But technological breakthroughs don't happen just like that. Somebody clever comes and comes up with idea, a genius person. There may be genius persons, but the genius person to work, we need stability, political stability for the investors, for the researchers, for the startups. And countries who provide the stability and the technological innovation made very, very good results. I want to give you one, in my view, for my European friends and colleagues, rather bitter example. First of all, I should say that in the year 2025, when we look at all the power plants installed in 2025, close to 2/3 are solar panels. This is a data, this is a number. And these solar panels, more than 80% of the solar panels are manufactured in one single country, China.
We founded the Tony Melu Foundation 15 years ago, and I'm happy to say that to date we have supported over 24,000 young African men and women, each one given a non-refundable seed capital of $5,000, and trained for 12 weeks, and mentors appointed for them, etc. Out of this, about 21% of these entrepreneurs are in the agri-business and agriculture space. And out of about 5,400 people have benefited from this program, and they are invested in agriculture and businesses. And out of the 55% of them are women, females, okay? And we like that because we've seen that empowering women is like empowering communities, nations, etc. And they succeed. And it's not by chance that we have two of our panelists here, women. And what we have seen, the people we have supported, is that they have helped to create jobs.
Welcome back to Money Moves. Let's now go over to Grace for today's updates and how the markets wrapped up on this fine Tuesday. Hello there again, Grace.
Wrapped trading for the day, starting off with the equities as usual. The NGX all-share index climbed 0.57%, while the BRVM edged up 0.73% to 419.90. The Nairobi Securities Exchange fell 1.18% to 212.81. In the South, the Johannesburg Stock Exchange fell 4.85% to 120,837.70. And Mauritius Semdex is 0.21%. In North Africa, Morocco's MASI slumped 5.63%, while Egypt's EGX30 declined 2.03% to 46,725.81. On the currency front, the rand weakened 1.57% to 16.36 against the US dollar. The Egyptian pound slipped 1.34% to 49.88. The CFA franc lost 1.23% to 565.37. The Kenyan shilling softened 0.05%. The Moroccan dirham declined 0.88% to 9.30, and the naira weakened 0.92% to 1,379 naira 04 kobo as at 13:27 GMT. Let's now switch into the commodities data deck, beginning with energy prices. Brent crude climbed 6.74% to $82.98. US WTI jumped 6.74% to $76.06. Natural gas advanced 4.12% to $3.08, while Arabic gasoline climbed 5.17% as at 13:08 GMT. Now finally, to metals prices. Gold slipped 1.51% to $5,231.60. Copper declined 1.88% to $5.83, and platinum plunged 8.24%. Aluminium bucked the trend, rising 1.65% to $3,249.13, while iron ore added 0.76% to $99.81 as at 13:11 GMT. And that's our Money Moves markets today. Back to you, Melissa.
Grace, thank you very much for those market updates. And that's it on today's edition of Money Moves. From all of us here at the FMDQ studios, we say thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all same time tomorrow.